Hoka hey, Alita Army. Welcome to the Alita Livestream of March the 28th, 2025. Is Alita happiest as a warrior or waifu? Where we discuss all things to do with the movie Alita Battle Angel, the source manga Gundam, and the greatly desired sequels. I am your host, Creek Indian from Denver, Colorado, and with me is Smendrick, and he is from Deutschland. How's it going, Smendrick? Bruce Scott.
Hello, Creaky. Hello, Hunter Warrior sisters and brothers out there. Nice to have you here in the stream.
You betcha. So anyway, how are things over there in Deutschland? Oh, well, before we get that, let's get Blotty in here from the UK, from the
Good
Shires.
evening. The Shires, indeed.
The Shires in the UK. Yeah, that's right. Or what does Angelus call it? Uckus or some Uckus or something like that.
Uckus.
Yeah, that rascal.
Well, he's messaging me on
Look
Twitter.
Who's out in the chat, by the way. He's probably at work. So Angelus is out there. So, and I see Alita the Killing Angels out there. The Bad Man's out there. Leonardo Bustos is out there. Wow, it's pretty cool. So Ola, Bruce Scott, Gates, and all that other good stuff, you know, to folks out there. So how are things in the UK there, Vladdy?
Not too bad. It's quite sunny, but it's just so windy, so you can't really enjoy it.
Oh, wow.
Because you just get frozen by the wind. But it's going to be nicer on Sunday, apparently.
Oh, nice. That's cool. What about in Deutschland there, Smendrick?
Yeah, mixed weather. Very mixed weather. Fast mixed weather.
Sounds like Denver, Colorado weather, if weather changes that much.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, here's what Angela says. He's working because he needs more money to get Alita merch.
Yeah, that's a good decision.
I can hear it. I hear him. So anyway, that's cool. Yeah, I guess here in Denver, it's pretty weird here. I mean, we I think we're supposed to get snow here about the middle of next week, but right now it's like 72 degrees Fahrenheit, and which is about probably 22 degrees Celsius, I guess, somewhere in that neighborhood anyway. So, you know, it's kind of weird here as well. So, you know, I guess springtime in the Rockies is unpredictable. So anyway, it is what it is. Anything before we move on, guys?
No. We're just welcoming our illustrious guests, myself and Schmendrick.
Yes. Cool. Glad you guys
filling in the whole of No Angelus once again. On his own stream.
Well, that's all right. You know, we're not, you know, we're not that organized here. You know, if work has to come first, you know, I mean, and Angelus, you know, he has to work for, I mean, he's a security guard, you guys know that, but you know, me, I own my own business, so I can pretty much pick my hours any way I want. So so anyway, it's pretty cool that way. So
that's nice.
Yeah. So anyway, let's move on. I guess we still got the LA fundraiser, Fires fundraiser going on. I guess someone here early this week had put $50 in. I've already sent the $50 to the Greater Good Charities. And, you know, I guess they haven't reimbursed me, but they will, you know, the GoFundMe will. So I'm not really worried about that. I was going to try to go to LA this month, but something came up with one of my clients and I'm having to work on stuff. So, you know, that's the way that goes. I see Lee Lemon's out there. How's it going, Lee? So anyway, good to see him out in the chat as well. Oh, let's see what he says here. He's having a late lunch and he doesn't think we want to hear him chewing. Yeah, well, we're so free form here on this stream. It doesn't matter. You could be drinking and chewing. We wouldn't care, would we, guys?
Indeed. Plus, there's always a mute button.
That's right. Well, anyway, we you know, we want to help these folks out in LA. There was a bunch of houses destroyed, and we just, I really feel bad for those folks. So anyway, we're trying to get something going here on this. We're going to leave this GoFundMe up for a while, just to just to keep until we get the next GoFundMe. We're going to leave it up just to help these folks. I have already sent every single dime of that $1,278 to the Greater Good charity. So, we're still engaged on this. And if you want to donate, the link is down in the chat. I mean, not in the chat, rather in the description below the screen that you see here. And click on that. Your donation will be anonymous if you want to specify it as us. And, you won't have to let your name out there in front of all the internet and all that kind of stuff. So you can, kind of stay secret if you want to. But if you got any spare dollars or pesos or dineros or, euros or pounds or whatever it is you have, we would sure appreciate it. No amount's too small. And we still have Rosa's Queen Studios bust, and that's I'm still hanging on to it here. Rosa knows I have it, so it's not a big deal. When she gets ready, we'll get it to her. We want her to have this. This for us is like an award. It's not a gift. We want to show our appreciation, our admiration, and affection for our queen because she deserves it.
And because the industry didn't show her any of that.
Yeah, that's right.
Didn't show her any appreciation for what she did in Alita.
Yeah, for sure.
She got the Hollywood Critics Award.
Yeah, she got that.
Which is ironic considering the critics tore the film apart, sabotaged it on behalf of Bob Iger.
Well, she also got the Imogen Award too for the Best Actress last year. So that's a pretty prestigious award, And I can tell you, I can see why. Rosa is magnificent. In that play I saw her in, she was truly magnificent, phenomenal. She's really great, and I can see why she gets these awards, because she is really super. And we all love Rosa. We definitely want to express our love and appreciation for her. And like I say, this is not a gift. This is definitely an award from us. So anyway, but when she's ready, she'll let us know and we'll get it to her. And we got the Alita sequel petition going. Now, I put some money in this thing last week, and now we've seen the fruits of those few dollars I put in. I think since last Friday, we've added 45 signatures. So, hey, it helps. Every signature helps. It helps us kind of remind Disney that we're not going anywhere. We're here to stay. We want that sequel, and those numbers keep going up. So, there you see the link there on the image on your screen there. That link is also down in the description below the screen. And you click on that and you enter your name and email address, and you've signed the petition. Now, you can specify being anonymous as well, so you don't have to have your email out there in front of everybody. And if you want to donate, you can. You don't have to. You can just sign the petition, and that would be that. But if you want to donate a few dollars, dinero, pesos, whatever it is, euros, pounds, who knows, you can put that in there, and that'll help promote our girl, and get that sequel. And you see this, it says Alita sequel there, but we all know that we want the sequels. James Cameron has been working on that. And he has some notes or something on that I don't know how many pages it is, obviously, but it seems like everything's primed, ready to go. We just need a green light, and then when that happens, and I'm stressing when that happens as well, I really believe we're going to get a sequel. So I know that James Cameron and Rosa wants a sequel real bad, so we'll get one. We're going to get one. We just have to be patient and keep doing what we're doing, promoting our girl, promoting our queen. If you do artwork, if you do videos, if you just want to do posts on social media, anything you can do like that to keep her current, you know, Alita current, then that's what we want. So anyway, sign the petition if you haven't already, and help us keep reminding Disney that we want that sequel. We also, well, what is this? Yeah, nice. Yeah,
Yeah,
as a matter of, yeah, I got a video
Much
coming up with
deserved.
those. I'm sorry, Vlad?
Much deserved to Tapion to get retweeted.
Yeah, that's something. I mean, Tapion 98, he's really, or he or she, is that a he or a she? I don't, doesn't matter.
It's a he.
It's a he. Is a really good artist, and I know I downloaded a couple of his pieces of art, and that's going to come out in a video next week. So, of course, certainly I give him credit for it, you know, and make sure that his, you know, he gets those credits. But that's amazing that Robert Rodriguez retweeted his art. That tells me that, you know, Robert wants it as well. You know, he wants that sequel for sure, you know. And, you know, hopefully when we have that thing we're going to do in Brass Knuckle Films here pretty soon, that we'll, you know, probably have a meeting of the investors, and, you know, just we'll go from there and see what he wants, you know, see what he has planned. But we also have the Alita Gaming Network right here. And last time I checked, we got like 41. So it's pretty small still, because we're not really pushing it. It says Kansas Bar soon. No, that's already in. I just forgot to take it out. So the Kansas Bar voice channel is open, you know, so you can go in there with friends and you can chat and stuff like that. But there's two other voice channels as well, the Lobby and the Gaming voice channel, which I know Smendrick and Vladi spend some time in there themselves.
Yeah, we were just in there playing RoboCop.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I normally play an hour before the stream starts.
Oh, cool.
Someone wants to drop in.
Yeah.
So I posted on Twitter that I was going to do that, and someone was asking about it. I don't know if we have a link for people to join.
Yeah.
Do we have one?
Well, I got the link right here. I can put it in the private chat. You want to put that over in the Twitter?
Private chat or something.
Okay, let me do that real quick. Then you can go put it on Twitter if you want. Let's see. Okay, Vladi, it's in there.
He said I might have to have my streamer mule join up.
Okay, that's all right.
What's a streamer mule?
I have no idea. It sounds like an animal to me, but I don't know.
Could it be something to do with like an account they just use for streaming or something?
Probably so. Maybe, I don't know. You know, we do promote streams on the gaming network for sure. You know, I know Radio Chaos. I think Maxi, you know, puts the link, you know, for the Radio Chaos stream in there. I know Chaos Nova does as well. He puts his link for his live streams in there. I didn't put one in this week, but I do that as well from time to time. And if you do live streaming and you're a member of the gaming network, you can put your link in there as well. You don't need my permission or Matu's permission to do it. You just post your link in there and get people to come onto your stream. That's fine. You know, we certainly welcome that. If you do fan fiction, certainly you can either upload that, or if you've got, say, a fan fiction that you have on maybe an archive of our own or something like that, then you can post that link in there. I know Lee Lemon has put his link for his, you know, for his fanfic in there as well. I think Maxie has. I have for my, well, my fanfic's not all that great compared to theirs, but mine's more of a short, I guess. And guess who just showed up? It's Lee.
Howdy, Lee.
Hello, Lee.
From down there in South Central Colorado. How's it going, Lee?
So far, so good.
Cool. I was just bragging on your, not Lee, I have to apologize. I was unable to read anymore this week because we had a big deal with one of my clients. So, you know, we got a, you know, kind of work thing I had to take care of this week. But
yeah, life happens.
Yeah, it does. But yeah, I encourage you to go and join the network, and you can, you know, kind of click on those links, and you can, you know, go to that fanfic and read it. And it's, there's some really good fanfics. I think Channel's got hers out there as well.
Maxie's got his up there too.
Yeah, Maxie's got his. I'm not sure, but I think Panini Freak has got hers there too, but I might be wrong about that. If you do artwork, you can certainly post that on the gaming network as well in user creations. And if you do anything that's kind of maybe off topic, maybe in other words, it's not directly related to Alita, or maybe just loosely related to Alita, you can post that in the off topic channel. And we do have watch parties. Now, we had a watch party last Monday, and it was really cool. We watched Good Crazy, or it was, yeah, Good Crazy.
Yeah, that was fun.
Yeah, it was. You know, Rosa, man, is really good in that thing as well. It's a short, you know, but it's really entertaining, you know. And after that, we watched The Trouble with Edward. So we watched 2 Rosa shorts on that one. Now, we're not going to be able to do a watch party this Monday because the creek is going to be kind of busy. So, but maybe the next Monday we'll come up with another thing to watch on the watch party, you know. So we'll let folks know, and you can join us. Now, to join the gaming network, and you see the link below our little Chibi Alita mascot right there. Doesn't cost you anything to join the network. It's absolutely free. The Creek doesn't want money for this, and you know, neither does Matu. And you know, we're just kind of keeping things interesting on the gaming network. You do have to have a Discord username though, and you can keep now you do have to sign in with your email address, but you don't have to use that as your, you know, kind of avatar, the name of your avatar or whatever. You pick any name you want. That's what people will see. They won't see your email address. And that's absolutely free. You know, Discord does not charge any money, you know, for usernames or user IDs. So if you want to join and, you know, you're maybe a little iffy about people knowing who you are, or you don't want your name on the internet or whatever, then you can pick something totally different than what your name is. You don't have to, you know, like certainly you people don't think my name is Gary. My name's Creek Indian. Certainly my name's Gary, but I use Creek Indian. Creaky is my nickname, I guess. Actually, Vladi, I do have an Indian name, a real Indian name.
What is that?
It's Wisdom Seeker. I seek wisdom is what I do.
Alita Battle Angel.
Yeah, you know. So anyway,
spends the whole movie seeking wisdom.
Yes, we're seeking wisdom from Disney to give us those damn sequels. That's what that's what I'm doing anyway. So anyway, join us on the gaming network. Who's basically Ben? Who is that? I don't know who basically Ben is, Angelus.
That's me.
All right, Ben.
Yes.
Always commenting me.
Every great name.
Open Bionics video.
Yeah, no problem.
I started it with my. So basically, I'm Ben.
Yes. Well, you know, everybody knows I'm Gary, but you know, that's cool. You know, it's okay. And of course, Lee is not his real name, but we won't ask him to give his name because, you know, we don't want to kind of do that if folks don't want to, you know. So we want to respect their privacy and that kind of thing. And we can do that on the network too here, the gaming network. You do not have to use your name. You do not have to use your email address. You know, you can pick some random whatever you want to pick and put in the name of your dog if you want to put, or cat or whatever you have. You put that in there, you know, and come up with an avatar that maybe doesn't look anything like you. You know, you just put that avatar in there because I don't look like my avatar. That's for sure, you know. So anyway, join us. It's real small. It's really intimate. We really like it. And, you know, we're not really promoting this either. I'm not pushing it hard. Probably one day we might, but right now I think folks like it being small and, you know, knowing everybody, and it's okay. We're fine with that. Okay,
I'll give
guys.
that guy the link who wanted it.
Say again.
I'll give that guy the link who said
okay,
he was interested in this. I don't know if he'll join, but
okay.
Here's an invite link.
Well, of course, you know, I think all of us have, except for Lee. we have either an Alita or Rosa avatar for sure. I think the Smendrick and Bloody and I have Alita avatars here. I think Angelus uses a Rosa avatar, and Lee uses looks like an avatar reminiscent of when he was in the Air Force.
Sorry.
No, it's actually a Ghost Recon soldier.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Nice.
Great. Great.
Cool. Yeah.
Sorry, you sent the StreamYard link.
Yeah.
I wanted the Discord link. This is about the Discord server, not the.
Oh, well, the Discord. If
not the
this,
stream.
let me see.
this is what I thought.
Okay,
Yeah,
this
I
is
confusing because we're talking
there's
about
the Discord
streaming
link.
and
Let's see. Do I have that machine readable form somewhere? Oh, yes, I do. Yes, I do. Let me pull that up real quick. I'll have to go to the there it is right there. And there it is. Copy that. All right, Vladi, here it comes. It's going to be in the private chat.
ready.
Well, the Discord link is actually down in the description too, but I'll go ahead and give it to you.
Is it still the same?
Yep, same one.
Okay, then we have a
There
stable
it
one.
is. Yes, we do.
Nice.
Yeah, I think Matu set that up some time ago, because we were having to do it every week, but until your network has been or your server has been established for some period of time, they don't give you a permanent link until you've had it, until it's been in existence for I don't know how many months, probably 5 months, 6 months, something like that. Of course,
this is nice.
Yeah. So did you get it, Bloody?
I can see it. Yeah, I got it. Just copying it now.
Cool.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay. You guys got anything further to say about any of the preceding slides until we get into this thing right here?
No, let's go.
Cool.
Let's get right into it.
Well, and of course, Bloody knows I got several slides after this, so we're not going to be stuck on
While
this.
we're all here, we need those slides to give us some direction.
Yes.
Else we'll just be rambling aimlessly.
Well, Alita, to me, now you guys correct me if I'm wrong, and you can butt right in. You're not going to hurt my feelings. To me, Alita is like someone who loves life, And I think the best way to describe her, like when she was a soldier or something like that, was that she was what we would call a happy warrior, And I think in the in the manga, she told Figure 4 that, hey, when it's almost like she loses herself. Everything turns white when she's in combat.
Well, that was a specific circumstance, actually. When she was in the
Yeah.
Badlands, things had been going so badly, she was trying to lose herself in it to escape the sort of hellish existence that she found herself in. Otherwise, she doesn't seem to lose herself in it, but she does enjoy combat. She does enjoy fighting.
Yeah. Well, we do know that in the movie, Alita, basically, when she gets in a life-threatening situation, she kind of resurrects some of her memory, when she does that, and I think that was another reason why she probably likes being in combat, because it helps her remember who she was, and I think, certainly being an armed berserker, being through a war is pretty serious, personally, I've never been through a war for sure, and I don't know if anybody on the panel has, but
we have.
That's well, anyway,
war with Disney.
A war with Disney.
Yeah.
Okay. But anyway, it's a pretty stressful situation, when you're, especially I guess if you're in the heat of combat, you don't know when the next second will be your last. You just don't know for sure. And it's pretty. You can see why people have PTSD. Well, in Alita's case, of course, she lost all her memory, And now she has to get to that state to be able to remember who she is. So I think that's one reason she probably is what we would call a happy warrior, you know, because she gets benefit out of it. She remembers who she was, you know, and it's kind of like she does like fighting, and even to pass the Badlands arc, I think it's like she kind of, well, she doesn't lose herself because she's trained, you know, not to do that, but it's like a delicious predicament she's in. She just really, you know, just loves that, you know, high stress environment, just particularly in combat, you know. Certainly she is an expert martial artist in Panzerkunst, you know. I mean, that's certainly a fictional martial art, but you know, if any of you have ever taken any martial arts, you know, when you spar with somebody, you're going through maybe some of the kata, or dances, as we'd call them in my martial art. It's kind of a delicious thing to be sparring with somebody, even if, particularly if you're sparring in full contact, you know, I mean, that's, you know, it's like, you can't get enough of it. You know, it's just like, it's just something that you relish, you know, you just really, you're digging it, you know, as they would say back in 70s. So we've established that Alita does love to fight, you know, for sure. That's a kind of important thing for her. Now that's kind of her warrior side, you know. Now, as terms of being a waifu, you know, which of course Alita is a waifu to all of us, you know, and certainly has uwu. But she also, I would say, maybe as much even, loves being with family and friends. She certainly loved Hugo and Figure 4. I mean, to me, Figure 4 is a deeper love, you know, than it was with Hugo. Hugo was kind of like, you know, kind of a teenage, you know, infatuation, which I think was pretty deep, you know. I mean, for her particularly, maybe for Hugo too, but not like Figure 4, because in the manga, I think she actually lives with Figure 4 for about maybe a month or 2 months, something like that. And basically, she is a very sweet person, you know, as a fictional person. She's, you know, she has those qualities of being really considerate, you know, cares about others and stuff. So really sweet like that. Now, that said, that part of her that's a warrior,
you don't want to get on her bad side.
Yeah, she can go sideways on you if you're not careful, you know. But I
rip
don't.
that arm right off.
I'm sorry.
She'll rip that arm right off.
Yeah,
beat you with it.
Beat you with the wit end.
Indeed.
That's right. Yeah, that's one of my favorite lines that Alita has in the movie. You know, well, don't piss me off.
Yep.
I love that. You know, but you know, I don't think I mean, a family member or a friend can make her mad, but I don't think she would, you know, lose it to the point to where she'd seriously injure them, you know. Now, what she might do is thump you on the head just to remind you, you know, about some things, you know, but I don't think she would seriously injure you, you know. I don't think she'd do that. Now, if she perceives a threat, she is definitely going to handle that, you know, and that's a little different, you know. So you would want her to go sideways on that one, you know, and just really eliminate the threat. So anyway, what's you guys' thoughts about this, about whether you, and we're going to go over each one of those bullets you see right there, about Alita being either happier as a warrior or a waifu. What's your take? I guess we can start with Lee, I guess.
Oh, well, I was going to say that you're probably spot on with her being fairly happy in either role, because she really does enjoy being around people she cares about. She really loves to have family and friends in her life. She seems to really like being a part of their lives. She has it, seems to really enjoy, what was it? Kind of lost track of what I was saying. She's really drawn to having a sense of belonging, I think. Is not the only way I can think to put it right now. Not the best way, but she is also very much, well, her natural state seems to be combat.
Yeah.
But she does seem to have other sides to her as well. But she seems to be very comfortable in either environment, really.
Yeah. You know, in her case, I don't think that she seeks validation from others. I think she likes being around family and friends, but it's not something like she would be almost like codependent on some other individuals, you know, because one of the things about Alita that I really like about her is that you go through her journey through the manga, you know, she meets all these interesting people, you know, I mean, she really does. And some of them are enemies for sure, you know, but she kind of goes through life meeting these interesting people, and then she moves on to the next one, you know, and I kind of like that about her, you know. I think that's
I think part of that is Kashiro always wanting to have her on the move.
Yeah, that's right. Well, Vladi, what's your take?
I think she's got the perfect balance.
So you think she's equally happy as either, right?
Yeah, you've got to have the you've got to have the waifu with the warrior.
Yes. Well, that's what Badman says. Warriors over waifu, he says. I think warriors are waifus if they're female, of course. So
I mean, after everything she goes through, she probably leaned towards more warrior, but James couldn't just settle down with Hugo. Alas, rest in peace.
Yeah. Although I think she was willing to settle down with Figure 4. I like to say she lived with him for maybe a month or 2 months, something like that.
Well, she did go back to him after she finished up her mission. She started making her way, and then she ran into that baby bomb.
Yeah, that's right.
That was the only thing that stopped her.
And we have with us from the science fiction remnant, we have Robert. How's it going, Robert?
I'm doing great. How's everybody doing?
Good,
Pretty good.
Yeah, I invited Robert because I have a little surprise for him on the stream. Well, he knows what it is already, but you know, we want to, you know, make sure that we show Robert a little love as well. You know, science fiction remnant. So anyway, Robert, what we're talking about is Alita happier as a warrior or a waifu? And I guess before I get to Smendrick, let me ask you, what's your take on that?
You know, I was pondering on that question, and why not both?
Yeah,
that's
what I said.
That seems to be a general consensus so far.
Yeah, that's right.
Everyone loves both those aspects about her, so we don't want to lose her ubu.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you know, I have I can appreciate a strong-willed, you know, waifu.
Yeah.
And who better to do than Alita?
You bet. What about you, Smendrick? What's your take on it?
Oops. Sorry, I muted my damn. Oh,
go ahead, Smendrick. We'll welcome Combat Wombat later.
Yeah, I would agree with Vladi and with Robert. I think being a warrior is her profession, and you can love your profession, sometimes hate it, but mostly it would be good if you can love it. And at the same time, you can be happy to relax, to go back to your hobbies, to your spare time, just relaxing. Yeah, that's so I think hopefully it's a balanced situation.
But you see it almost as like a separation, though. It's like, you know, her being a warrior is like her job, but her being a waifu is like, this is me personally, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. All right, cool.
I don't mind she bringing it home, though.
Okay.
I don't think Creek would either.
Well, she's my niece now. I can't.
Oh, well, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah. Well, at least that's the rumor, I remember when we interviewed El Lamont, and I told El that I was there was a rumor going around that I was Alita's uncle, and I remember Maxie saying, "Well, I wonder who started that rumor." So anyway, welcome, Combat Wombat. How's it going?
You didn't recognize the picture?
Yeah, of course.
I was tapped over. Otherwise, I would have recognized.
Let me tell you, Maxie. I almost thought you were Dizzy. Because I would expect Dizzy to come in with something like that, except his would be a little bit different, So
I haven't been on this stream for so long that I thought I'd just stealth on in and see if anybody recognized me.
Oh yeah. For those of you that don't know, Maxie, or Combat Wombat, is actually the Pope of the Alita Army.
Yeah.
We
and
need
more science fiction remnant.
Yeah, I wanted to invite Science Fiction Remnant, and I should do it more often, shouldn't I, Robert? But anyway, we got a little special treat for Science Fiction Remnant toward the end of the stream. So anyway, Combat Wombat, or Maxie, what do you think? Do you think Alita is happier as a warrior or a waifu?
Well, let me answer this question by asking you a question. Do you stay at work 24/7?
No.
No, nobody does. Look, you can't be fighting all the time. There has to be downtime.
Yeah.
There has to be, soldiers get cycled into combat and out of combat, and then they have furloughs and they have time off because you psychologically can't deal with it all the time.
Yeah.
So she can't be fighting all the time. It's not going to work. So I think it's both. She's got to have downtime. And when you have downtime, where do you want to spend it? With your loved ones.
Yeah.
Maxie,
pretty obvious, really.
She can bring it home here.
Aren't you already married?
Yeah. All right, you're married, aren't you, Robert?
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
He's starting his harem out.
Well, I do remember there was a picture of Alita that got cycled around social media called Grandma Alita. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
Then I, of course, stepped up and said, well, no, that's more my speed right there. So anyway, I think that's a consensus of all of us. We think she's happy as both. As both a warrior and a waifu. I think one of the things she gets out of being a warrior, particularly in the movie, is that she gets a little bit more snippet of memories of her past. So she kind of learns who she is, but as I think Lee pointed this out, she loves being around family and friends so much that's a major part of her life as well, so yeah. And I agree. I think it's both myself, Grandma Alita, still faster than those meatbags. Yes, she is.
You remember Tony's favorite version, Thick Alita.
Oh yeah. I remember that. Yeah. Yeah, I miss old Tony. Where I wish he could come back some. But anyway,
it would be nice.
Yeah. Anyway, I think we all agree that Alita is equally happy as both. As an berserker, I think this is kind of the foundation of who she is in terms of being an adult, because even though she doesn't remember that much, particularly in the movie, she absolutely has no idea who she is, and she's put in a body that's a 14-year-old girl, and that's really not who she is, and that's kind of like what Gerhard said when Alita was laying on, when she got put in the berserker body. Gerhard said, well, looks like she's a little older than you thought. Yeah, I think that was more her. And she even told Hugo that that body she was in felt more, she said, it feels more me. The other body was okay. She could get around in it. She probably appreciated the artistic work that Ito put into it, but the Berserker body was more her, you know. So, and certainly she looks more mature in the Berserker body as well, you know.
Well, I think even that might be because even though she didn't remember it, she spent the majority of her life in a Berserker body.
Yes. Yeah, she did, particularly when they went to war against Earth, you know, then she was in the Berserker body, you know. So, yeah. What is this? Chaos Nova? He bags one HK-47 drone would say, yeah. Yeah, I guess so, you know. But, you know, I think the foundation for her personality, at least, not all of her personality, because as an Berserker, she was really Yoko. She wasn't Alita, you know, at least before she got discovered in the scrapyard. Now, if you've read Mars Chronicles, you know that she prefers the name Alita over Yoko. And that partially could be because she was pretty much, I won't say off the rails, but she was pretty much a, what's the word am I looking for? Just kind of a, you know, a killer that just really it did strike her like about killing people. I think that, and at least that's what I took away from part of that, you know. But once she got into the Berserker body and she finally remembered who she really was, she didn't like who she was as Yoko. That's why she prefers Alita, I think.
Yoko was indoctrinated.
Yes, that's exactly right.
And probably wasn't living a particularly pleasant life.
No. Particularly during wartime. I mean,
yeah.
You know, I mean, that's pretty horrible, you know, and of course, you know, I guess in that war, you know, that in Kashiro's manga, she was probably 17 years old or something like that. And she's still a teenager, you know, basically, you know, I mean, yeah, or 18. She was probably 18 by the time she got to Earth. But now she's a young woman then, but that's still pretty much a kid in my mind. And, you know, probably really impressionable and stuff like that.
You know, something just occurred to me. I have to wonder if maybe the Berserkers weren't being created similar to the way the Spartans were in Halo. They were taking children, putting them in Berserker bodies and training them to be soldiers.
Yeah. Well, that's
really traumatic. If you think, I mean, the whole Spartan program was traumatic to begin with, and that's
very
ended up being, you know, having some of those the ones that died end up being like encapsulated in AI. But I mean, just looking and again, Maxie knows this. I'm an empath. I feel for both. It is a very traumatic experience.
Yeah, it'd be kind of like, now we covered this some time ago, but about 3 years ago. But did you ever see that movie Soldier with Kurt Russell?
Yep.
Oh yes.
That it was probably similar to that. You know.
Yeah, it's kind of what I was thinking of too. It's like Halo and Soldier both had that whole children indoctrinated into a military at an early age, and the weak were weeded out as they failed the program.
Yes,
and whatever was left was the top of the line soldiers.
I can add one to that. Ender's Game.
Yes. Yep. But you can see that, you know, when Alita didn't have her memory, you know, she, you know, basically, you know, was trying to remember who she was, even though in the moment when she was an Berserker, you know, it probably wasn't pleasant or whatever, but that's all she had at that point in terms of her memory, to try to remember who she was and what she went through. So, you know, I think even though it would be harsh, I think that would be something that just about any human being wouldn't want to have that kind of amnesia. I don't think, you know. What's a sin of sanity? What is this? Fighting Karula was probably 27 after that fight. She was like 18 or 19 before. Yeah, that's right.
Actually, I thought she was like 31 when she was at the latter tournament.
Could be. I think she was in her early 30s, and you know, and eventually I think she's like in her mid 30s. I think, you know, or maybe as late as 37, perhaps. you know, or as old as 37. I know she's older than Figure 4, but you know, so anyway, that's I think this is the foundation of her personality, you know, even though she didn't prefer it to begin with. In other words, when she first started getting her memory back, and she didn't want to be known as Yoko anymore. She wanted to be known as Alita, because part of that was because Ito gave her that name, and she loves Ito, you know, so, and I think that probably had an effect too. But still, her ability to fight, you know, and her, you know, her just her training and all that stuff is a pretty ingrained or a pretty significant part of who she is, you know. So, you know, I can see why she'd want that. But anyway, what's some of you guys' take?
Oh, I got distracted by the bad man here. He said Alita was 16 when she first faced off against Karula, but I don't remember her ever facing off Karula before the Zot. Was that something from Martian Chronicles?
I don't remember her fighting Karula in the Martian Chronicles, unless it's in Volume 9.
Or Mars Chronicles, I mean.
Or Mars Chronicles. Martian Chronicles is a series from the very early 80s.
Yeah, that's something else.
So, yeah, I thought she was like in her early 30s, maybe 33 or something, because there's that one, I guess there's that one line she said that, you know, it had been 14 years since she had was discovered in a scrapyard. And if she was 17, you know, of course, Ito thought she was 14, but if she was truly 17 or 18 years old, that would put her in her early 30s, you know, so.
Well, if she was 17 when she was found, there was a couple years after Motorball, so that would be 19. Then she spent about 10 years out in the Badlands, so that's 29.
Yeah.
And then there was a couple years after that when she got rebuilt by Nova. So that's 31. Yeah, she was early 30s when she went to the Zot.
I thought so, you know. And I do remember that one scene, though, or that one panel when she said she remembered that it had been 14 years since Ito had discovered her. You know, I remember that. I distinctly remember that. So that would definitely put her in her early 30s, I think. Anyway, what is this right here? Sin of Sanity says, how tough was that fight? I would say fighting age like 8 years. Yeah, that's right. So anyway, Smendrick, what do you think about her as an Erm Berserker? You were in the military. What do you think?
I don't know the entire books so much. So I don't have an own opinion, basic opinion, yeah, on this. So I keep myself muted.
Okay, well, that's all right.
So,
what about you, Vladi? What's your thoughts? Vladi, were you ever in the military?
No, I was never in the military. Well, I might be soon if they do the bloody conscription thing. So I'm a bit AFK right now.
Okay. Well, Lee, you definitely were in the military. So what's your thought about her being an Erm Berserker? What?
Well, I'm not sure I can give a whole lot on that. I mean, she was a combat trooper. Now, I've got a friend of mine who he was in the Army for 8 years. He was a combat trooper. I actually saw some fighting, too. I never did. The only combat training I ever got was firing an M16 a couple times and firing a shotgun once. I think I actually got more weapons training outside the Air Force than I ever did in it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because I grew up around guns. So I saw more guns outside the military than I did in.
Oh, okay. Robert, were you ever in the military?
No, I was going to, but it didn't pan out. But and I'm not too savvy when it comes to the lore within the manga and the written material. All I have to base myself is in the little knowledge that I have so far, including the OVA and the movie.
Yeah.
So I don't have much to say other than to my perspective, it's totally awesome. It's just how she handles herself on that suit. But I don't know. Maybe Maxie might have a better.
Well, you probably got a lot of knowledge from osmosis from being around Maxie, right?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, the guy who just won't shut up. So it got so bad that he had to make a segment in Science Fiction Remnant just for the Alita Army News, so that I wouldn't talk about it all the time during the show. He said, "You talk about it there, nowhere else."
Robert, I knew you were smart. Well, I was never in the military myself. Maxie, you weren't in the military, were you?
No, unfortunately, I got diabetes when I was 13, and that counted me out of the military, the Air Force, the flying planes, helicopters. Hell, until the mid-70s, diabetics couldn't even have a license to drive a car. So,
Really?
Wow.
well,
Oh,
back before blood sugar level monitoring was a thing,
oh, because you could
you
end up
couldn't
in
really
a
tell.
Yeah.
Diabetic coma behind the wheel is not a good.
No,
yeah.
that
Yeah, I've
would
seen
not
some
be good.
video footage of some people getting into accidents, and they find out later that they had a blood sugar problem with
Yeah.
diabetes, and yeah, it can be a problem.
So yeah, that counted me out of the police force. You know,
Yeah.
just about anywhere that you hold a weapon, or the lives of lots of people in your hands.
You don't want to be passing out.
No.
Yeah. Well, it looks like Badman was in the Royal Canadian Air Cadets. That's pretty cool. That's sort of military, sort of. Yeah, I never was in the military myself. I did work for the Department of Defense for many years and worked with a lot of military guys. And I tell you, most of the guys I work with, of course, everybody's different, but most of them have a particular discipline, particularly Marines. They have a really good discipline, so I could see why. I could see, knowing what I know about that, how Alita would have that kind of a discipline, being an berserker, being in the military, and that coming through when she fights, I mean, that, and then of course wanting to remember that as well, So anyway, any other thoughts about Alita being an berserker?
It gets a little bit confusing in the manga, at least.
Yeah.
Because you get flashbacks of her in the non-canon ending, which make her out to be a completely emotionless, like heartless bitch.
Killer.
Yeah, a killer. Yeah. And like there's that scene when they're in the ship and they're like, oh, the hull's been breached, we're venting atmosphere and deep shit, blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And there's one of her compatriots who obviously has feelings for her, but because they're in war, he hasn't said anything, and he's been shot up, so he doesn't currently have a functioning body, and he's sort of in a maintenance brace. And he says to her, look, okay, we might live through this, so I just want to tell you that I love you. And she's like, what are you talking about? Shoots him in the head.
Yeah. Actually, I think she stabs him in the forehead with a knife.
Oh, was a knife, was it? Oh,
yeah.
I thought she shot him. But,
she stabs him and then calls him a weakling after she kills him.
6 of one, half a dozen of the other, really. I mean, she offs him.
Yeah. Doesn't matter how she does it.
But her calling him a weakling, I think, gives you a bit of insight into her state of mind at that time.
Yeah.
But I've watched a lot of Japanese culture, in inverted commas, with confessions and things like that. And it's got to be one of the most brutal responses I have ever seen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, you love me? Die.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to say, Alita, I love you. In that case, that's for sure.
No, I think the important thing is to be beaten into submission before you say it.
Yeah, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
If you can take the lumps from her, she's more receptive.
Yeah, that's right. If you can put up some kind of fight, even though if you don't win, kind of like Figure 4 when they were in the Badlands. He put up a fight. Now, he was hilariously outclassed, but she couldn't forget him after that. That was
he had the fighting spirit.
Yeah, and I think that made an impression on her. So it's hard for us to think of Alita, especially after seeing the movie and stuff like that, thinking of her as that kind of a, how would you, I wouldn't say mindless killer, but like you said, Maxie, an emotionless killer, to where she
desensitized.
there you go, where she would kill somebody when they said "I love you." I mean, that's,
I would say heavily indoctrinated and desensitized.
Yeah,
probably a good dash of traumatizing in there as well.
I'd say so. Yeah, I don't think that the Panzerkunst training in any version was particularly friendly.
Yeah.
Yeah. They probably didn't have self-esteem training in there, did they? Probably.
Any sort of training that they have is beaten into you.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah. Yeah, our girl had a really hellish life, I guess, as an Erm Berserker.
Well, there's a comment, and I think it's in the, well, it depends on the version that you're reading, because they do the translations differently. But I do remember a comment somewhere in the Motorball arc where she says, I conquered pain a long time ago.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
And that's pretty telling. And I mean, I understand that you'd want your Erm Berserkers to be, have no issues with pain. Like, pain is just a part of life. It doesn't bother me, because you want them to be able to keep going regardless of how much pain they're in.
Mm-hmm.
So I get that. But to actually conquer pain, you would have to be put through some sort of hell, which would not do your psyche much good.
Yeah. Yeah, when it's something, you look at that face and how sweet that face looks. Proceed with caution.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's what you want to do with her, so.
And two other points along that line. The first one is, if you think Alita was bad or Yoko was bad, what about Erica?
Oh my God, Erica.
Alita's like the Salvation Army compared to Erica.
Yeah, Erica is psychotic, man. She's she's
something
pretty
else.
Yeah,
and the other point is, most modern militaries, at least to some level, would be thinking about rehabilitation of soldiers after the conflict.
Yeah.
I don't think that the or the God, what are they called? The guys who do Panzerkunst.
Yeah.
Künstlers.
Künstlers. I don't think the Künstlers were thinking at all about what happens after the war.
Yeah.
They were just creating the best soldiers.
Yeah.
And it didn't really occur to them that there would be an afterwards.
I agree with Alita Killing Angel here. Erica rocks. I think, she does. I mean, as a character, she's very, very interesting, but my God, she is a psychotic. She's on a different level, I think, on a lot of that stuff, So anyway. All right. What about her as a martial artist? There was that one scene in the manga. I guess this was this before or after the Motorball arc? I can't remember. Where
this was before.
Yeah, where she's training. She has a little karate studio, not karate.
Oh, you mean in the manga when she was training self-defense? That was after.
Yeah.
That was during the civilian arc.
Yeah, you brought up the picture, so I thought you were talking about this, but
yeah. Let me get Maxie's share here.
We were talking about Erica, so I took up a picture.
Yeah. So anyway, there you go, Alita Killing Angel. Now she's got some woo as well, but man,
we don't see Erica. There we go.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, wow, you should have saw it right away. Yeah, she's got that woo, all right, but you don't want to approach her.
It's more less woo.
Yeah, that's right. She might kill you just you looking at her.
She looks so sweet.
Yeah. She looks sweet, but oh man, don't judge a book by its cover.
Those are the ones we love, though.
That's it.
Holy moly.
False sense of security that kills you.
Yes.
I'm sorry, I just hear the woman's name and I have no security.
Well, you're right, Alita the Killing Angel. Erica does rock. I mean, I like her as a character, you know, but yeah, if she was a real person, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with her.
Yeah, I think as a fictional character, she's certainly an interesting individual, but nope.
I had to laugh at her when she got told she was a necro soldier. And she's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
What? I'm dead? What?
Yeah, you're dead.
Pretty lively.
You're dead.
I killed you. Yeah, I killed you 200 years ago. What? Oh, brother.
I wish they had kept on with that section.
Instead of her being whisked away by that vehicle or whatever that flying thing was.
Not even that. I just wanted to find out what was going to happen beyond that, because you know she was trying to set Alita up as an assassin who was after the Queen, Mars.
Yeah,
and it's like, well, come on, you've set up the payoff. Where's the payoff?
Yeah,
I want to know what happens.
Is that Kashiro's writing, you think? Seems so, maybe.
He got lost in the past.
Yeah, he did.
Reminiscing in the past.
So I think this adds to her part of her personality. I know, and Angelus, I think he's still out in the chat, would agree with me that when you take martial arts like this, it does get kind of ingrained in you, even if you're just taking it, you know, as a recreational thing. You learn discipline, you learn how to defend yourself, and it does kind of give you a sense of confidence, and I think that, that would kind of play hand in hand with her memory as a Künstler, of course, because she learned Panzerkunst, in the military, which by the way, Maxie, you'll probably agree with this. There is no military in the manga. It's different.
Yeah,
but,
I know.
Yeah, it's a lot different. But she's still in the military, I think. But it's not called the I think that's something.
Well, the Künstlers were like special forces, and they were called in to do almost the impossible. And you know how I was saying that they weren't expecting any of the Künstlers to like last until after the war. She was sent on a suicide mission.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So she wasn't supposed to survive.
That was that Operation Malwarf, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes, that was.
Yeah. But anyway, I think that Alita probably, you remember when she's in the alley fighting against Nisiana, Romo, and Gruishka. It was like
you mean when she was warming up?
Yeah, she's basically she's warming up. But the look on her face after she pounded Romo into the dirt, she turned around and looked around, and she had this look in her eyes like, God, I didn't know I could do that.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of knowing that kind of thing that's part of your past, I think would be also something that she would really, any human being, I think, would want this, but that they would really want to know that about themselves, especially if they had amnesia like she did, So anyway, just my thought. Smendrick, what's your idea about this? I don't know if you ever took any martial arts or not, but what's your thought?
No, I'm not in martial arts personally. I like Japanese films and documentations about martial art trainings.
Yeah.
Sometimes it, as you told before, sometimes it looks very strange for us Europeans. For example, when they have to learn so many hours a day, train so many hours a day, and it's a very complex training. It's a balance between your physical power, and your mental power, and for me, I don't want to justice this, but for me, it's a kind of brainwashing. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I was a soldier. Okay, you told this, but we have a different kind of trainings. It's like training on the job. Yeah. And if the job is over, if you finish it, then everything else is important. Yeah.
Yeah.
But they live martial arts. Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't forget it.
Yeah, that's right.
After leaving the barracks. Huh?
Yeah.
No. Once a martial artist, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, once a martial artist, you ever stay a martial artist.
That's true. That's true, because they teach you a kind of a, I wouldn't call it a way of life, but what it is, it's a perspective or a way of thinking. When you get into like if you have to defend yourself, the average person may get freaked out or something like that, but martial arts, particularly if you've progressed through it for any amount of time, you don't think in those terms. You think in terms of technique, and that's basically it. Hello, Captain Chaos.
Hello, Chaos.
How y'all doing, guys?
Yeah.
I like what you're talking about, because you're talking about in more simpler terms about discipline. Basically, martial arts becomes part of your life.
That's exactly right.
Routine. Imagine that you go jogging every day, and that's your Uncle Creek, he goes bodybuilding every day. Imagine a martial artist, instead of doing that, they go and do their practice daily.
Well, powerlifting, yeah. I remember Dan and I had that discussion about whether I'm a bodybuilder or a power lifter. I'm not a bodybuilder, I'm a power lifter. Because I don't stand up on a stage and make all these kind of,
You don't want a party? You don't need an audience. Got it.
So anyway. So anyway, welcome aboard there, Captain Chaos. Vladi, I think, is AFK, so let's go right to Lee. Lee,
no, I'm back now.
Oh, you are?
Okay, Vladi. Keep an eye on the chat, the private chat. So I was back, but I might have to go soon.
Well, Vladi, have you ever had any martial arts training or gone to like classes?
Might as well still be AFK because no.
Oh, okay. Well, what's your thoughts? I mean, certainly you've probably watched Bruce Lee films and stuff like that. So
yeah, it's definitely like all about between like the balance of the mind versus the physical, which is perfect for Alita because that's kind of what she's about.
Yeah. We got another Chaos out in the chat, Chaos Nova. No, we're not at the chat limit, Chaos. Gosh, I mean, we may as well set a record and see how many people we can get on here. So Chaos, if you want to come on, there's the link.
Can we handle more Chaos?
Yeah, we can handle it. Well, we have two Chaoses on here, so I don't know. It's going to be pretty chaotic, I guess.
We need a third Chaos because it's supposed to be Chaos cubed, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it is. Yeah. I think that's me in general, though, Maxie. So, well, Lee, now you were in the military, and you probably got some basic self-defense training, didn't you, in the military?
Nope.
Oh, you didn't?
Like I said, when I was in the Air Force, I was basically a mechanic.
Oh,
I mean, there were only 3 combat occupations in the Air Force. There was the fighter pilots, the combat controllers, and the security police, and I wasn't any of those.
Well, they got special ops too, don't they?
That's the combat controllers.
Oh, okay, yeah, okay.
Yeah, they're the ones who get dropped behind enemy lines with a dirt bike and communications gear.
Boy, Lord.
Wow.
Well, then I'll move on to Robert. Robert, have you ever had martial arts training?
When I was very young.
I actually gonna tell him he has a katana. He used to practice with it.
Yeah, I don't know if I consider that. Maybe it is. I practice the Aido.
Okay.
I haven't practiced that in a while now because my wife is afraid of my katanas. Swinging my katanas in the living room.
Yes. Yeah.
Is katanas a euphemism for something else now?
No, I do have.
He's got the real deal, the masculine.
We're not allowed to own ninja swords in our country anymore. They've just banned them.
Oh wow! So
yeah, it's the UK for you.
Maybe
you can't have a sword, Vladdy?
No, they've just banned ninja swords because people in London keep stabbing each other. So ban ninja swords.
Wow.
So when are they going to ban sharpened pencils, Vladdy?
I know it's going to happen. They'll ban rocks at some point.
Yeah.
Wow. So I think I do have a question though, because based on my experience with the swords, right?
Yeah.
It is, I have years, right? There's certain katas and you practice katas and you practice over and over and over. And it's just a balance between your physical and your mental connection to the sword. I mean, there's a saying when you practice Ido that the sword is actually the extension of your body.
Yeah.
So you got to practice that. And the more you practice, and this is not just to that, but any, it applies to sports. It applies to any physical thing that you do, martial art included. It is the repetition. It is practice. It is doing it over and over and over. And you could be really mediocre when you start, but if you have like 10 years doing the same thing, you are going to be a lot different than when you started, right?
Yeah.
So that brings me to a question though, because and please correct me if I'm wrong, because I don't know that I am only based this on the OVA and the movies that I've seen, and I read very little mangas at this point. But if I'm correct in assuming Alita is just brain and a body, so that leads me to a question. If I am correct there, and of course you guys will correct me if I'm incorrect, but how do you do that? When
I think with Alita, there's actually, well, I wouldn't say two versions of Alita, but in terms of her brain, in the movie and in a lot of the manga, the original manga, she's got a human brain, but in the Last Order, she's an android. She's not a cyborg. She has a brain chip, so she's more like Data, from Star Trek than she was in the original manga. Now that said, we've had many discussions on these both streams that we still think Alita is human because she has retained her humanity. There was only one place that she kind of lost touch with her humanity, and that was in the Badlands arc in the manga, and Figure 4 brought her back around. But she is, when she's a cyborg, she is a brain and she does have a cyborg body. So that part is true. Now in the Last Order, she's an android. So
yeah, and even if we take the android side, right, but she's just electrical impulse. Well, I shouldn't say that because brains are electrical impulses, but in the version where she's all there's nothing biological, right? It's body and a chip. It makes me wonder, like, if you're machine learning, then that would kind of make sense, because as a machine learning algorithm, the more you do a thing, the better it gets with every iteration. But it actually, I think it stops at that, because there's no muscles to get strong. There's so that's the question that I know is a little convoluted, but I wonder, with this question, I wonder about that.
Well, I think in her case, and Maxie's the Pope, he could correct me, but I think in her case, that, you know, she's once again, she's trying to remember who she is. And this is another deeply seated part of her being a Künstler, you know, being an expert martial artist. And when she gets in a life-threatening situation, her memory sparks, you know, include this expert, being an expert martial artist. You know, when she first is revived by Ito, Sheeta has no clue that she knows this. You know, you get a kind of an inkling of it when the Centurion starts walking through Iron City, and that little dog is there, and she, you know, kind of gets into a fighting stance against the Centurion. But even there, I'm not. She probably had some vague recollection that maybe I know how to fight, but she doesn't really get it that much until she fights those three cyborgs or androids or whatever in the alley, you know. So I think in her case, you know, in terms of it being, I don't think it's muscle memory so much, because it's like you say, she's got a cyborg body. Her body is going to be capable of doing it, because, you know, muscles and bones and all that are kind of, they can be fragile, they can be vulnerable and stuff like that. But in a cyborg body like she has, I don't think she has to have the muscle memory. It's just a matter of the programming, if you want to think of it as that, you know, telling her arm to move in a certain way, and it just does it automatically. You know, anyway, that's my take on it. Maxie, what's your thought on that?
That's before Maxie weighs in. That's exactly where I was going with. Is the fact that it almost seems unnecessary from my perspective again, because if you are fully a cyborg, look at, for example, you could do what I like to call the Matrix, right?
Yeah.
I know Kung Fu. You know, just run the program. You don't need the muscle memory because you already have a robot. It's just the training program to make your body do whatever it is that you want to do. So that's where my question went in, is the fact that, I mean, you know, you want to learn how to fly a helicopter, run the program.
Yeah.
And that's what I was actually going with the question.
Well, that's probably true in her case to a degree, because it was probably so ingrained in her training when she was in the military that, you know, it just became second nature, and it was like in a really deep-seated part of her memory. You know, it's just that she couldn't realize it unless she got in a situation that required the recall of that. So anyway, that's the way I see it.
I mean, Maxie, I think it's similar. Sorry, I think it's similar because you do feel in a cyborg body, so I can't see why that feeling isn't in your memory. How it feels to punch, kick, or ride a bike.
Yeah. Well, you know, you see her there on those two images there. That was that scene where she's in front of the mirror, and she basically goes through this kata, and it's like even though she probably hadn't done that in the movie in 300 years, she went through it perfectly. So it was probably so ingrained in her memory that it just came out automatically, you know. And that's Maxie. What's your thought? I think you have probably a better take on it than I do, but what do you think?
I think you're heading down the right path there, Creaky. So again, it depends on which version of the story you're following, but certainly the novelizations of the movie give some hints in this direction. Obviously, there's the subconscious of the human body, you know, the lizard brain and so forth, which when you drill your body, it remembers things and can operate them almost automatically. If that's what they call muscle memory, basically. Your muscles have no ability to memorize things, but your nervous system does. So basically, when you go to do something that you've drilled into your body, your lizard brain, or, you know, the lower part of your brain, will do it for you, or basically take on that task. Walking is a perfect example of this. So when you're a little kid and you're learning to walk, you've got to think about every step. But when you're an adult and you've been walking for decades, your lizard brain has taken on the task of moving your legs for you. So you go, I'm going to walk over there, and you just do it because you don't have to think about it anymore.
Or thousands of years, right? Max?
Or thousands of years in your case, yes. But it's the old paradigm of I don't know what I don't know. I know what I don't know. I know what I know, and then I don't have to think about what I know because I know it so well. And when you get to that last level, you can do stuff without thinking about it because it's drilled into you. It's like when you're driving home and you're thinking about, oh, what am I going to make for dinner tonight? And oh, I've got to do the washing and this or that. And then you look up and you're in your driveway.
Yeah.
And you go, shit, how did I do that? I drove home without even thinking about it.
Yeah.
And that's basically what it is. It's autopilot. And from the novelizations of the movie, there's a bit of chatter in there about the cyborg core, and now that's the bit with the heart and various other vital parts of the cyborg that if they lose those, they're in a bit of deep shit.
It's the life support system and everything.
Yeah, the life support system. Yeah, but there's also a cyborg. Well, I guess. You'd have to decide about what you'd call a muscle memory core or something like that. Basically, another subconscious, but it's for the cyborg body. So when you drill things into your cyborg body, this is the bit that learns them and remembers them.
Yeah.
So when you go, I'm going to throw a punch, your cyborg body does that because it's learnt to do it.
Yeah.
So because your body, your subconscious is designed to control a flesh body, not a cyborg body. So there's got to be another interface in there. There's got to be another level to carry out those commands. So
like a sub-processor of sorts.
Yeah, exactly. But, it's not something that you have cognitive control over. It's just something that does its job and becomes the lizard brain or the autopilot of the cyborg body. Yeah. So Alita still had her core. So she still had her subconscious, and that's where the Künstler moves were hiding. And when she got into a combat situation, it just combated for her. And she's like, holy shit, I didn't even know that was in there.
Let me address a couple of things there Angelus has brought up about, well, of course, one of them I want to say is like, to Maxie's point, like, for instance, I haven't done really martial arts for a long time. Now, I know how to throw a roundhouse kick. I know how to do it. But I guarantee you, my roundhouse kick is not as effective as it used to be because I just haven't practiced it, and that's to your point that it has to be ingrained. Now, in terms of powerlifting, Angelus, there are techniques that you have to do in powerlifting to make sure you get the most out of the lift. Because if you just rely solely on brute strength, that'll only get you one spot. If you do proper technique, you can get maybe an extra 5 to 10% out of it, maybe, or maybe even 20% depending. But powerlifting also has those techniques as well. So anyway, but Angelus is he tickled my fancy with that one. So anyway.
What I would like to ask you all is, did we ever relate to the memory that makes her able to communicate with people through the centuries? Her speak, her language, knowledge, and all these things. Where does this where is it stored? In which part of the memory? If you wake up from long-term amnesia, you will be able to communicate.
I mean, I think that's just one part, Schmender, that they didn't think about when making the manga. I mean, language changes over time. It's true, but I can forgive that. Forgive that part of Kishiro, given all the other details he puts in there.
Yeah. And he's trying to tell a story that everybody can relate to, but think of this. think about somebody here in America going back and trying to talk to George Washington.
Yeah,
that particular.
There'd be some differences in the language back then. Is what I would be saying. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Plus, the vocabulary has changed quite a bit, because if you say something like network to him, or you said something like computer or car,
or use one of our slang terms or something.
Yeah, or use one. That's right. Use a slang term. He is going to have no freaking clue, and that's going to be on top of the fact that English has changed. You can tell that by just reading the documents from back that era, how it sounds different. When you read it out loud, it's almost, I don't know, it's hard to explain, but Alita being asleep in the movie for 300 years, 200 in the manga, there would be something of that, because I do remember in the novelization, one of the things that Ito observed was, well, apparently she can speak English, but that's the only language, or something like that. Well, English is going to be, over a 300-year period, English is going to be pretty different. So I could see where, she would have to kind of relearn. Now, she'd probably have a pretty good foundation, because a lot of words are still the same, but it would be a gradual learning process, I think. Just like if you learn something like you learn German as an example. German and English are different, but they're kind of similar in some areas, and you can pick it up, so I think that's what she would be up against there, But in terms of martial arts, though, that's not going to change. That's going to be ingrained in her core, in her subconscious. And she doesn't need muscle memory, because she's got a cyborg body that's going to be able to do it. Even if she was going to execute a kick, and she's going to say, you're fighting her, and she's going to kick you in the throat, she don't need to practice that, because her brain, or her core is going to be able to deliver the message to her leg, and she's going to kick you in the throat, even if she hadn't thrown a kick in 300 years. So, that's kind of the way I see that, anyway. That sound reasonable, Maxie? Maybe it's not. I don't know, but
yeah, I think it's probably all right. I mean, yeah, that the whole language drift thing is a big sort of plot hole if you're trying to be absolutely accurate. But I mean, when you're trying to entertain, you've got to have a little bit of leeway. There's got to be a little bit of flexibility.
Yeah, you do.
Otherwise, you couldn't tell the story. I mean, if it becomes part of the story, I mean, you look at a movie like Dances with Wolves, where the main character is, in an environment where he just doesn't understand the language. It becomes part of the story, him learning to speak to the people he's surrounded by.
Yeah.
But, if you included that in the movie, you just have to cut out some other bits of the movie, which, had more to do with developing the plot. So, I mean, sure, it would be more accurate, but would it be more entertaining? Would it still tell the story? No, not really. So.
And would it be relatable too, in a lot of ways?
Actually,
I wanted to ask you this. Do you think it will be far-fetched if her programming helped her, like, as she talks to people? Because, we all know computers work at a faster speed. Especially computers from this universe that are, totally science fiction. And it makes me wonder, when you said that, would that play into the fact? But because you could pick it up and analyze it and process it and change your algorithm on the fly.
She's an infiltration operative. That was her last job, was to infiltrate, the ladder mainframe on Jiru. That was her job. And infiltration requires the ability to blend in and be able to talk the talk and walk the walk. So you're quite possibly right there, that she would have been given, sub-processors which gave her the ability to quickly adjust her speech patterns and sound like she fitted in. And maybe that's still running. It's not impossible. It would make sense.
Angelus, I'm going to put some Lakota on him. Alpoa Angelus. Hawashini Katiye Machucky Nasi Chahu Muskogee Mucha Yellow.
I had one of those, but the wheels fell off.
So anyway, Angelus is having a ball out there in the chat, so I thought I'd put that on him.
Look, have any of you guys ever tried to speak to a Gen X who's in full Gen X mode?
Yeah.
You almost need one of those processors just to understand what they're saying. So,
yeah. Well, I would say this about Alita, though. Remember, in the movie, she's a cyborg. She's not a, where she didn't have a brain chip that would process language like a computer would. She has a brain. So
yeah,
I think she would have to learn a language. And the nuances of English, she could probably communicate at some level with a lot of folks there. Like, for instance, if we were teleported back to, back to the 18th century, we could probably, at least begin communication with locals, but it would be a while before we could carry on any kind of language, kind of a conversation with them that would be, how would you say, effective, I guess. It'd be like speaking broken English or something like that, I think. So,
was it 300 years that she was asleep?
In the movie.
In the
yeah.
movie.
200 manga, 300 film.
Yeah.
Because if we take the movie as a base, like if we can repeat, like duplicate this, it's like if we're going back in time to the year 1725.
Mm-hmm.
That's mind blowing.
Yes. Yes, it is.
I mean, I've watched many a Shakespearean play and had to try and work out what they were saying.
Yeah.
But it wasn't impossible. You'd lose some nuance.
Yeah.
And apparently the Japanese spend a lot of time inferring what the other person's saying.
Yeah.
I've watched some shorts about, when you go to Japan, start your sentence, and if you're not good at speaking Japanese, you start your sentence and let the other person pick up on what you're putting down and run with it. And that's apparently the way they communicate a fair amount of time, unless there's something really specific they've got to get across. So, there's a lot of inference, but if you're not good with the language, you're going to struggle getting the inference.
Yeah, that's right.
So, it would be tricky, but it's not like a completely different language. It's a modification of the language you know.
Mm-hmm.
So you can get a feel for what the words roughly mean.
Yeah.
And then you have to pick up on the usage as you go.
Okay.
And before I meant Gen Z, not Gen X.
Gen Z, yeah, not Gen X. Yeah.
Yeah, got the wrong.
Well, we know Alita loves to fight. That's for sure. It seems like she's in her wheelhouse when she's fighting. So, and there, of course, we see her about to split Gerwishka in half. She did that with a very fluid motion, for sure. And of course, that on the right is out of Sonic Finger. When what's the guy's name again, Maxie? I can't remember.
I think it was just called Sonic Finger.
Sonic Finger, okay.
Yeah, they didn't say his real name.
Anyway, she loves to fight. So that would play hand in hand into her being in not just the military, but knowing Panzerkunst. And, a lot of people, I don't know if you've probably seen these videos on YouTube where two guys will start fighting each other and they don't know how to fight, and it's kind of comical when you see it.
Mm-hmm.
And most guys think they know how to fight, but they don't. But in her case, she knows how to fight. And the fact that she's good at it, it's almost like something that's second nature to her. It's almost like she can fight against a very tough opponent. And it's like, walking to the grocery store or something, or riding a bicycle or something like this. She doesn't, it's not something it's intimidating to her. It's not something that she has to think about. She just does it. So anyway, what's y'all's thoughts on this? I guess we can go with Smendrick. What do you think, Smendrick?
I'm not completely happy.
Oh, okay.
All these aspects. Just a question.
Yeah.
What is it you remember when she dives into the warship, the ship?
Yeah.
And everything reacts on her. Where is this information, this memory stored? Is it her? Is it another part of fighting technology?
I think it's a combination of both. Myself,
maybe
because she knows it in her brain, or at least she has an idea of it. But it's like in her core, all these movements of her fighting are still ingrained in there, like it would be ingrained in your subconscious. That's what I think.
And the same question referring to the moment where she enters the passcode into this tablet or whatever it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
That's interesting.
I think, has it something to do with fighting technology?
Well, that wouldn't be, but to me, it would seem like that they would put, because you guys probably all know how difficult it is to remember your passwords on various things. In her case, I think when she went up to that panel and it kind of came up out of the floor, and it looked like she just did it automatically, with one hand. That, I don't know, Maxie, you can help me out here with this, and maybe Lee and Chaos too. I believe that was something that was in her core.
Yep.
That's what I think. And it was just automatic.
There'd be secure. There'd be a security system so that you couldn't break into equipment and reverse engineer it. So they'd have it locked down. It wouldn't just be, oh yeah, we'll roll this out in the battlefield, and in 6 months the enemy will have it too because we didn't lock it down.
Yeah.
So I mean,
my understanding there was code systems in her core that reacted with security systems in the ship.
Yeah.
The ship recognized her.
Yeah.
So there must have been an IFF or something going on, some exchange of protocols.
Now, she probably wasn't on that particular ship because she was, well, maybe she was, who knows? She might not have been, but it would be like that would be embedded in the security system, not just in the ship, but say any mainframes that were, kind of high up in the hierarchy of the systems itself, or the network. And even in all of the, what you would call users, like she'd be like a user with that security code, that would be in her core. So if she went to any ship, she could probably activate, deactivate that force field and stuff like that. That would be my thought. What do you guys think?
Yeah, there'd have to be some sort of access code and recognition system.
Yeah,
because you wouldn't want just anybody wandering in there.
Yeah, it's really possible.
There's usually even if you are a cyborg, you could get retinal scanned in the world of Battle Angel Alita, the manga anyways, or you could get brain scanned. Either of those would work, even if you had a new body.
Yeah.
I think,
but with her being a berserker, it was probably some kind of security codes embedded in the core.
Yeah,
because that ship had a stasis cage that was storing specifically berserker bodies.
Yeah.
So it had facilities meant to support the berserkers.
And probably all berserkers would have that same code.
Exactly. So any berserker could go onto any one of these ships with the support systems on it to get a new body or get repaired or get replacements or what have you. And not have to go through a bunch of red tape when they're in the middle of a fight.
This is interesting. Thank you.
Yeah.
It almost makes me wonder if there's some sort of quantum security The reason why I'm saying this is because there is, and I can't remember, there is a bank, I think it's in London, unless I'm mistaken, that they're testing bank security with quantum. And the way that this works is that, when you look at a quantum particle, that's when it changes, right? So they send the code from point A to point B. If someone intersects it, it changes the code, and that breaks the link. So I wonder if some sort of like quantum, because it would definitely play in the part if you're like, say, for example, you get your eyes changed for some reason. The retina will not work. So I don't know. I'm wondering about that.
There's probably, it might be some kind of, how would you say, AI driven.
Well, she had the brain.
System,
She had the brain, and she had the the head and torso were the same.
Yeah. I think in the case, though, Smendrick, of her activating or deactivating that force field where she, kind of punched that password into that tablet looking thing, or that keyboard, it wasn't a keyboard, but, that kind of a device. I think that was something that definitely was ingrained in her core. I don't think it's something she remembered, because that kind of memory right there, remember, she couldn't even remember her name. So she's not going to remember a code that she'd have to punch in to deactivate the force field if it's something she had to remember with her conscious. I think in the case of this, where that would be automatically stored in her core, to where when the ship recognized her and she walked up that spot, the ship recognizes her, pulls up that keyboard looking thing or that tablet looking thing, and
it looked like a holographic keypad.
Yeah, exactly. And she just punched it in automatically. It was almost like she wasn't even looking at it. It just did it, She wouldn't be able to remember that kind of a code if she can't remember her name, which would be more embedded in her subconscious than she would that code, So that's why I think it's in her core.
Okay.
Anyway,
that's an interesting point. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Well, I think we can all agree that Alita loves to fight, though, right?
I was going to say, it's like, well, we kind of covered that. She loves to fight.
This is a no-brainer, right? She definitely loves to fight. Now, in terms of her other side, or the softer side of her, and we've kind of chatted about this, she loves being with family and friends. I think I think that's and I would include Ito and Gerhard as her family, because that's all she knows now. In the movie, Ito becomes a father figure, and I think the original intent was for Gerhard to be a mother figure, but they didn't kind of push that out in the movie.
Well, according to a article that they did interview with Idara Victor, who played Gerhard, she was mentioning something along those lines. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think she loves this as much as she loves fighting. What
I'd
do you
say
think?
so.
Yeah, I believe.
I agree. I concur.
Yeah.
And woe unto you if you threaten her family and friends.
Yep.
Yeah, she's going to go sideways on that one.
She'll kill you.
Oh yeah. I mean,
it's a common situation that when you have a very strong protagonist, the bad guys always go after their family and friends because they can't attack them directly. Either take them hostage or murderate them.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's one of those unfortunate
things.
Well,
it's a tough thing where, you fail to protect someone. You can't really undo that most of the time.
Yeah.
Just ask John Wick about that one.
Yep. I've never seen any of the John Wicks. I've seen clips.
Basically, his wife gives him a dog and they kill the dog, so he decides to go kill them.
Yeah.
Well, his wife, who passed away.
His wife died from cancer. But but his wife gave him the dog, so he just like, I'm going to kill this guy.
Well,
so
he was contemplating suicide, but he was staying alive for the dog, and then they killed the dog, and he said, "Well, I got nothing else left to live for. Time for some revenge."
Yeah.
And he was like the preeminent assassin, and he quit because he got married.
Yeah, the criminal cartels that he worked for called him the boogeyman.
Yeah, Alita, the Killing Angel, has a really good point right here. You remember, she's going to quit motorball, if you remember, because she's not into it like some of the other professionals. And Ed is kind of living vicariously through her. So he slaps her to kind of, snap her out of it or whatever. And, of course, she cries about it because I guess she thinks that he's mad at her or whatever it is. But then that guy jumps out and tries to shoot Alita and shoots him because he jumps in front of her. And that's evidence right there. She really loved Ed. And man, did she take it out on that dude. I mean, he was dead pretty fast, after that. So
there's an old saying, dead man walking.
Yes, that's what he was. Yeah, you don't want to threaten Alita's family or friends. You just don't want to do it. I mean, unless you want to have some kind of a death wish of some sort, you don't want to do that.
Well, there's Death by Alita.
Death by poor choices. Brought to you by Alita.
Yeah, I think she'd be quick and merciful about it because I don't think she's.
I've never known her to do any kind of like slow death on something. When she goes to kill somebody,
she doesn't torture people.
Yeah, she seems to just kill them.
Yeah,
she's not interested in anything else. If there's a threat there, she just wants that threat gone.
Yeah, and it does get gone.
I think there might be a switch in Alita's brain where people are people until they're threats, and then they're no longer people.
Yeah,
they're targets.
I wonder if that's in her core, Maxie. That's a good point.
Could well be. I mean, she's kind of got two modes by the time she spent some time with Ito and fallen in love and done those normal human girl things.
Yeah.
She's got this sort of side of her which is growing stronger, which is like, I'm a person, and doing person things and falling in love and all that sort of stuff. And then there's the other side of the switch, which is you're all targets. I will take out the threatening ones. Don't become a threatening one.
Well, at the end of the movie, the look in her face when she's pointing the Damascus blade up there at Nova is like, oh, holy shit. Yeah, she's after him, that's for sure,
Well, she asked the guy, like, Nova's your father, and said, and then he told her, no, just kill him anyways.
Yeah, that's right.
She's got this look in her eye that's like, if I could have anti-gravity right now, you would be toast, Nova.
Yeah, that's right. I'm going to move kind of long here because we're almost at 2 hours. This is evidence of her softer side, isn't it?
Yep.
She fell in love with Hugo and Figure 4. Now, I do think her relationship with Figure 4 was deeper than it was with Hugo, although she loved Hugo. There's no doubt about that. I think she really did. But with Figure 4, I don't know. He was more on her level, I think. I think Hugo was kind of to me now, I'm glad Panini Freak and Random Bomb aren't here to get on me. But he was more like just a pretty boy, and she gets infatuated with him.
I think it was described as an infatuation.
Yeah. Now, I do
she
think
still cared about him a lot, but he wasn't
yeah.
as deep of a love as what she developed for Figure 4, which was more mature, I guess, if you want to call it that.
Well, the thing about it is, her relationship with Hugo starts out with her, being, just smacked in love, almost type thing with infatuation, and it goes that route, but with Figure 4, it was pretty contentious at the beginning. I mean, she certainly kicks his ass real good out in the desert.
Yeah, they end up yanking each other's chain quite a bit.
Yeah, but eventually, I think it was like they were way far apart, you know, and they just kind of came together, you know, kind of thing, you know, when he showed it because she thought he was dead. He shows up and takes out that cyborg, you know, that was trying to kill Alita. Although even without any feet, I think Alita would have still taken that cyborg out, but he did it for her, you know. And I think the fact that he met her on her level like that, you know, and he's big, you know, he's a kind of a muscular guy. He's a warrior. I think that right there really that kind of started the ball rolling. But when she got to know him, I think you're right, Lee. I think that relationship was much deeper than it was with Hugo. So I would say she's pretty happy at this point, you know, with both Hugo and Figure 4. You know, as a matter of fact, when she left Figure 4, you guys probably remember, I think it was Den that told her that what was she thinking about or something like that. And she said something to the effect that I'm just remembering a life that I can't have, or something to that effect. I can't remember what it was exactly. And it was like she had a regret. So she kind of has a pretty deep feeling for him, you know, I think at this point. So
I think she gave him he gave her a reason to start living again.
Yeah.
Before she was just on a mission and that was it.
Yeah. Well, you know, the MIB, the tuned program, rather, they lied to her. They told her that she had nothing to live for, that everybody she knew and loved was dead and stuff like that. So, you know, it kind of took all that kind of
I think they tweaked her memories a bit too, didn't they?
Yeah, I think they did. Yeah. And they kind of took that all out of the picture so they could have a consummate killing machine, you know, which is what they wanted, to go after the barjack, you know, but
turned her into their personal weapon.
That's right.
So expendable asset.
Yeah. That's a good point, because now I will say this, you see those fish that are coming down the right, Bigot Eisenberg actually caused that. And that was the one time he wasn't a prick, I think.
Yeah.
You know, with her, you know, but
no, he was still a prick. His plan was to get rid of her after that, so he could care less.
Well, he did send.
Sorry, I just can't help but be honest here.
No, that's all right. You know, yeah, I mean, he did send the AR units after her, didn't he? So, and of course, Zex took out damn near all of them. So anyway, in addition to cutting off Figure 4's arm, or ripping it off.
No, he didn't cut it off. He pulled it off.
Pulled it off. Yeah, that's right. So and he got a cyborg arm after that. So anyway, Figure 4 is my favorite.
And he also broke his arm hitting a tree. Like,
yeah,
don't do that.
Well, Figure 4 is my favorite guy for Alita. I think that's you know, perfect. You know. Now I will say this, you know. My feelings about Hugo have evolved over time. You know, I mean, I really thought he was a little shit when he was up there with Vector, you know, drinking whiskey or whatever they were drinking, and he made a deal with him, you know, to get her into the second league, when he knew that those grind cutters that Gruishka had were the ones that he actually, you know, jacked off of Kanuba, you know. So I thought, well, you little shit, you know, but since Alita loved him and he came around, all my kind of feelings about him kind of evolved, you know. But Figure 4, what I like about him, it was hilarious to begin with, because of course he approaches her on that train, even though Yolg says, "Don't mess with her. She's, you know, she's an angel of death," you know, and he goes up to her, and of course, you know, he's hitting on her, I guess, and she puts her finger in his forehead. "Don't get too close to me. People die when they do," something like that. But he, you know, he's undeterred. You know, he just goes for it. You know, so I really like him as her significant other, I guess I could say. You know, so anyway, what's you guys' thoughts? I'm rambling. So,
well, I pretty much already told you what I felt about it. I think that Figure 4 was a more developed love interest for her than Hugo was.
Yeah, I think so.
Like you, my feelings on Hugo also developed a bit, but it also depends on which part of the movie you're talking about, because I still think he was a little shit earlier in the movie.
Yeah.
And I think he grew at the end of it.
Yeah, I think so. He saw her as a means to an end at the beginning of the movie, didn't he?
Yep.
Yeah.
He was sizing up her body to sell it.
Yeah. Either that or, she'd been up and he said that, when she
that
said,
too. Yeah. She was a means for him to learn more about the
and how the
fantasy world he wanted to become a part of.
Exactly. So.
But at the end, he was willing to give up that world for her.
Yeah.
And Nova killed him.
I should say that in the novelization, it's obviously not as clear in the movie.
Yeah.
In the novelization, he basically says, I can't touch Alita's hardware because it's a Doc Ido special and anybody would recognize it.
Yeah, he wasn't necessarily going to, but he was definitely appraising the value of her body.
He was tempted.
Yeah.
And then when she rocked back up in the Berserker body, he's like, no, that's ERM technology. I'm not touching it with a 40-foot flagpole.
Yeah. Well, I will say when he, that scene where I always say you dumbass when you say, oh, you're heavy, to me, you dumbass, But anyway, the look on his face was like, oh, wow, she's cute. I kind of got that out of him, but anyway, but yeah, I agree. I think he had a lot of ulterior motives to begin with. He saw her as a means to an end.
Well, to be fair, I think everybody in Iron City pretty much has ulterior motives. It's just the nature of the environment they end up living in.
Well, it's survival mode there, isn't it?
Yep.
What about you?
Part, at least.
What about you, Smendrick? What do you think?
Yeah. Wow. Today we have a very complex stream, so I have to think about all this. Yeah. I like it, really. But no, I don't have an opinion at the moment. I can communicate with the public.
Okay. What about you, Robert? I'm sure that, we lost Lee for a second there. What about you, Robert? I'm sure you've gained a lot of knowledge or information from Maxie.
I think I want to echo the opinion here. I feel that I did not know about figure 4.
Okay.
But it makes sense based on what I have seen so far that would have to be a more complete relationship than what we saw in the movie. But I would have to echo what everybody says about this because I don't know, there wasn't enough time with Hugh to develop. I don't know, maybe if things were not turned out the way that they did, it would have been a different story, but it's bound to be surface relationship because of the amount of time they'd had to spend.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, you can't do a lot in a movie that's 2 hours, I guess. So
yeah.
Especially with as much ground as they were trying to cover.
Yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Well, Maxie, I know you've got a lot to say about this, don't you?
Do I?
Yeah, I guess you're the post.
I think most of it.
Oh, okay. Chaos, you got anything you want to add?
No, not really.
Yeah, I think the thing about both of these two, though, is that Koshiro, or in the movie, I guess it would be Cameron and Rodriguez, put Alita through so much shit, that when you see her happy like that, you kind of feel good for her. You're like, oh wow, man, she's happy finally. After going through a bunch of crap that she goes through.
And knowing what sort of story it is, it's not going to last.
That's right. Yep. All right. Well, we know Alita's a sweet person. Now, again, she'll go sideways on you. So be careful. But I think, though, if you were a friend of hers and you weren't a threat, she might give you like tough love, if you want to think of it as that. Maybe kind of tap you on top of the head if you do something that's particularly irritating to her or something like that. But she's not going to injure you severely. She might punch you or something,
Yeah, she never struck me as somebody who's going to be abusive or harmful to the people she cares about. But yeah, she might show a little bit of tough love if she thinks they absolutely need it.
Yeah, I think so.
Even when she's fighting, I don't get a sense of her being malicious.
Yeah.
Which, you could say that about most villains, right?
Yeah. Well, in the manga, there's several places where she actually empathizes with her enemy or her opponent, and it just speaks highly, for her as a character, being as good a person as she is. And even in the movie, there was one scene, when she cuts Zapan's face off, and he's saying, "Oh no, my face," and she looks at him. There was a split second where she had almost like a hurt look on her face, but then of course she just walked off with a Damascus blade. But it was a split second there that she actually seemed to, feel sorry for him. I think, anyway, that was my interpretation, So yeah, Alita is a sweet person. Yeah, but she could give you some tough love if needed, that kind of thing. And I wish Angelus was here on the chat, because I put the next slide in for him. Yep, she's got uwu as well. So anyway, I know you guys probably all think the same thing, right? You think Alita's a sweet person, I think?
She definitely has a softer, more loving side to her, yes.
Yes. What about you, Smendrick? I know this is something you can talk about.
Yeah, I never told you this before, but I think because Alita is a sweet person, we maybe should get those sequels as soon as possible.
Yes.
Do you hear us, Mr. Robert Rodriguez, in the background sitting and muting your mic? Yeah.
I don't think he's back.
Well, it's mainly Bob Iger you got to worry about, I think.
Yeah, not Robert. Robert wants to do it. Robert Rodriguez wants to do it. James Cameron wants to do it, and certainly our Queen Rosa wants to do it. So,
I want them to do it.
Yeah,
that's good.
Well, here's the thing.
What we want to hear.
Here's the thing about
John Landau went to his grave wanting to do it.
Yeah, he did. Well, here's the thing about this too. Is that Rosa, they're actively trying to do this. They're really trying to make this happen, I think. So I believe we're going to get one. I'm just so really confident about it. And when it happens, we're all going to sit back and say, wow, look how we for 6 years, or 7 years, whatever it takes, we were all pissing and moaning about not having a sequel. Now we got a sequel and they're working on a third movie or something like that. I think that's what's going to happen,
Exactly. So we need those sequels.
Yes, we do. So, but I don't think Robert is in the chat though, Smendrick.
Damn.
Well, maybe him and Rosa and James Cameron are all in the chat. Who knows?
This would
I wouldn't
be
bet
nice.
on it though. I wouldn't bet the house on it.
Hi, Rosa.
Yeah. All right, guys. Any thoughts about Alita being a sweet person? I know y'all all think she is, but just to check off that box, what's y'all's thoughts?
I think we pretty much covered it, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we did probably. All right. Well, did we miss anything, you guys?
Jumps out
no.
at me.
No,
Not really.
Yeah, the creek rambles so much that he damn near covers it all by
The
himself.
presentations are there if you ever want to use them.
Yes, indeed.
I think we will tenderize this horse.
I think so. And as you can see from that center panel right there, Alita does love her Uncle Creek. And that's because he wants a sequel, just like Smendrick wants a sequel, and like we all do.
Yep.
And if you got a problem with her loving her Uncle Creek and wanting a sequel, take it up with her. You can face that plasma weapon yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So, that's the way that one works. Okay, coming up on the channel, I guess on tomorrow, you know, of course, Maxie will tell you that I'm a whore. He knows this, but this will premiere the same time Radio Chaos is on the air, you know. But it's some I guess some images I put together of Alita in combat, and so is the second one on the 31st, or if you're in the future like Maxie is, then that would be April 1st. And then I haven't done one of these Alita art streams for a while, so you know, I got some more recent images and, you know, kind of, you know, put that together, and that'll be on Thursday or Wednesday, I guess, or Thursday in the future. Next week, yes, Maxie, we do have a topic. We are going to read the Mars Chronicles next week. So because that's the same weekend we do that we do the manga reading on Radio Chaos. So I kind of like to sync up with that, you know. So
the answer is correct.
Yeah, that's right. So we got 3 videos and a live stream coming up next week. So you guys check those out. And here's,
wait a second. Remember, in Europe, we changed from winter to daylight time.
When is this?
This weekend.
Okay.
I thought it was last weekend.
No.
We already did it in the United States, wherever they do that
We
daylight
have it.
savings. So I
We
wouldn't
have
know.
it starting this Sunday at 2 p.m. a.m. in the morning. Okay.
So we spring forward.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I got
Thanks.
you. And the YouTube channel of the week. And I do consider Science Fiction Remnant as part of the Elite Army because they want sequels. Captain Chaos, Robert, and certainly Maxie all want sequels. But go check out their channel. What are you guys going to be doing here in the near future there, Robert and Maxie, on Science Fiction Remnant?
Well, we're planning to do, and this might be premiere here because we typically don't announce what we're going to be recording, but we're recording this new Electric State next Sunday.
A big Netflix movie they spent $220 million on.
So we're going to cover that.
That's more money than they spent on Alita, wasn't it there, Maxie?
Yes, it was. Certainly Netflix could fund Alita sequels.
Yeah,
I blame Iger.
Yes.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, if Lottie was here, we'd probably be here another half hour.
Yep.
So anyway, check out Science Fiction Remnant on YouTube. And I think, Robert, you guys also got a website too, don't you? That you
at sciencefictionremnant.com.
Okay, cool. So check that out. They got some good content on there. And of course, they struggle to keep Maxie from talking about Alita all the time, but they get past it, I think. So
and the episode that's dropping tomorrow is a classic. I won't say which classic, but it's from the early 70s.
Oh yes.
So check that one out.
Well, damn, we don't know what it is.
It's a flawed classic, but it's a classic, and it has a lot to talk about. There's a lot of deep subjects in there.
Have you guys ever done a review of Forbidden Planet?
Oh
yes, we have.
Oh, nice. Okay,
we already have an episode on that with a guest star.
So cool. I have to go and look for that because that's one of my favorite classic sci-fi movies. You know, particularly with Robbie the Robot in it. So.
Well, actually, the Forbidden Planet episode's really cool because we've actually got guests on who have done a modified version of it from the original radio play that was done at Forbidden Planet before it became a movie. There's a lot going on around Forbidden Planet, actually.
I gotta check that out.
And they inserted a new character in there to mess with the script. It is so cool. Check that one out.
All right, will do. So anyway, check out Science Fiction Remnant. Yes, they are part of the Elite Army, and we are glad. We are glad they are part of the Elite Army. So anyway, and here's our queen right here, and of course, she's number one in the Creeks book in terms of being a great actor. I mean, she's just, I'll tell you, man, I know I say this every week, but when I went to see her in that play, you know, in Pasadena Playhouse, man, she knocked my head off. I mean, she was just magnificent up there, you know. And she was really kind to Charlie Smith and I. You know, she came out and talked to us for at least 10 minutes, you know, on that first day. And I got to talk to her again the second time I went there. And Charlie went back to see her too the day after. And she really loves us in the Alita Army. You know, she's great. I also want to give shout outs to El Lamont and Jesse Fisher because I want to see Screwhead come back. And I did hear from El Lamont, you know, on Instagram. Basically, I said, you know, she had done a post or something about what makes you happy. And one of the things I said was, you know, what makes me happy is, you know, really trying to get an Alita sequel in which I want you to be back in it as Screwhead teaming up with Alita. And she said, that's a team up with Alita that I could really get on board with, you know. So she wants to do a sequel as well. And of course, Jessie is a really good stunt person. She, you know, I think Elle said she was the most badass stunt woman she ever worked with or something to that effect, you know. And we want all three of these superb performers, you know, to be in the sequel for sure, you know. Now, probably Screwhead probably wouldn't be in Alita 3, I would guess, because that would probably be the Badlands arc, would be my guess. But although I don't have any information on that. So, you know, but definitely she could be in Alita 2 in the Motorball arc for sure, you know, and teaming up with Alita against Joshigan, you know. But all three of these folks are really super at what they do, and the Creek really does want to see them in the sequel. So there you have that. Maxie, you want to talk about this since you're probably going to be the host since Angelus is working.
Well, yeah, there is that, but this is actually you put forward, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Yeah, what we're going to do is, well, I just thought since you're going to be the host, I'd be courteous, you know. But anyway, and that's odd for me to be courteous. Anyway, but yeah, what we're going to do is we're going to see how Alita would fare against various villains from other, you know, movies and maybe even anime and stuff like that. How would she fare against them, you know, in terms of fighting? And the way I anticipate doing this is I'm only going to look at three of her bodies. That'd be the tuned body, the berserker body, and the Imaginos body. What's Maxie got going here?
While we were talking.
Yes.
I did the thumbnail.
Yes. I'll download that and put it in the presentation. Did you already upload that to YouTube there, Maxie? Cool.
Yeah, I did.
That is nice. Eating chocolate ice cream, of course.
Yeah. That's my PFP for Discord. Just the leader's head there.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Okay, so join us for that tomorrow. We're going to have a really good time with that one, I think. And I would also like to say that, you know, anybody that wants to, you can come on the Stammtisch. In other words, what we have is kind of like a little after party. And we just talk about Alita, and it's not streamed, so you don't have to worry about, oh my God, I'm going to be talking to a bunch of people in front of, well, we don't have a bunch of people, but, you know, we got 11 now, I guess. But, you know, certainly a lot of people watch this after the stream is over, but you know, we won't be doing any streaming or anything like that or any recording on this. It's just us sitting around talking about Alita and having a good time. And we'll even talk about other stuff. So if you want to join us, there is I put that in the chat. There's the link just below the image of Alita and our Stammtisch. What do you call that thing, Smandrick, on the left there? What's that called?
Stammtisch. Yeah.
Well, I know, but is it? It's like it's not an ashtray, obviously, but
it's an ashtray.
Oh, it is an ashtray.
It's just a combination of the normal reservation sign and the ashtray.
And I would also like to say, going back to this one, as if Rosa is out there in the chat. Rosa, if you want to do a live stream, I'll be your stream manager for nothing. There you go. I said it. So anyway, that's that. And of course, we are the Alita Army. We are the most positive fandom on the internet. We support Alita and Rosa passionately and positively. And certainly we do campaigns and, you know, fundraisers and stuff like that for, like we do, like with the LA fire victims. And the main thing about us is the Alita Army is that Bob Iger, I know you're not in the chat, but I'm going to say it anyway. We are the Alita Army and we're here to stay, and we're not going to stop until we get that sequel. And if that means after you leave Disney, so be it. We are going to get that sequel. We're going to stay after it. So there you have that. Any last thoughts, guys?
I'll be getting busy, but I'll try to do something live stream. It might not be good on March Memory, but it'll be something. I'll be open to talk about Alita stuff on that.
Okay. You're going to post that in the gaming channel there? No.
Yeah, I'll post it in advance of it actually happening. But you can drop
cool.
by.
Cool. And of course, we know that Robert and Maxie are on Science Fiction Remnant. They're going to be doing their thing, and we got a show that they got coming out tomorrow. That's going to be pretty cool, I think. And you know, we'll be on the lookout for that.
You'll 100% recognize the IP as soon as you see it, Cricky.
Excellent. Why is it old or something? And you think because I'm
1972?
Oh yeah. Oh, that'll be right in my wheelhouse, I think. So. All right. Why is that image there? Well, that image is there because I like it. And of course, I am running the stream. I'm the producer. I'm the stream manager. I'm the director. I'm also the janitor. And I'm the caterer. I do all that stuff. Of course, that's only me, so I cater myself. But I like this. I like this image. And to paraphrase Gruishka, I'm only here for our girl and our queen. I'm here for her as well. And the Alita Army. And of course, all of us in the Alita Army are only here for our girl and our queen. And with that said, there's only one thing left to do, and that would be on my count of three, the call to action. 1, 2, 3.
Fill
those
sequels,
baby.
All right, guys. So we'll see you next week on the Alita live stream, and we'll see you tomorrow on Radio Chaos. Bye.
Take care, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
What's up, Alita Army? This is Hot Toys Alita, and I hope you enjoyed this week's Alita live stream. Please join my Uncle Creek, Angelus, and our other guests for next week's show. Remember, I do not stand by in the presence of evil, and film those sequels, baby. See you next time.